So today we're going to put together our Patriotic paper sculpture. Now, of course, this is going to be great for your 4th of July decor, but since it's a shadow box project, it could be a wonderful gift and keepsake for someone in the armed services. So, and actually, as we've done in previous paper sculptures, we've taken and maybe in this case, we could cut out the name of whoever it is that is served. And you can, kind of superimpose it on top of the glass or behind the glass, whichever method you prefer, and include whatever branch of the Army they're in, or branch of the military they're in, I should say. Jazz it up and make it a one-of-a-kind in whatever way you know how. I'm not an expert when it comes to our military branches, so I really can't speak intelligently about it, but those of you that come from military families, you'll know exactly what to do. So anyway, let's take a look at what we have here, and more or less this is kind of a scrapbooking project. It's really just paper piecing, but it's somewhat dimensional. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I'm not going to cut this one. This is the color that you choose for the background. And then we're going to take this piece is actually cut. This is 11.4 inches wide. And one thing you'll notice, and you're probably not going to be able to see it very well here, but there are a series of score marks cut into this to help you with the placement of everything. And also you'll notice, and this is hidden, so I can actually draw this in, there's a little letter T on one side. That means top. That is your top, so that you know how the orientation works. Okay. Now this little piece that cut out is kind of it's just a little guide to help you place this 11.4 inch wide piece in the correct spot. So what you can do is you can take it and pop it in the corner, any corner. We're going to do all the corners, and take a pencil or a pen and kind of draw the little corner there so that we know where it goes. And then we can bring it down here, do the same thing, just align it with the very edge, make sure it's nice and square, and draw the little L there. And kind of like if you have a silhouette, you have registration marks. This is kind of what it is. And I think if you do the 3 sides, it's fine, but I'm just going to go around and do all 4 sides just so that I'm sure that I've got it in the right spot. So again, just get that lined up with the very edge on both sides, and then just take your pencil and just draw the little L right in that corner, and now you've got the perfect little frame to help you position this accurately and nice and centered. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the little L's that we have there, and just get that as centered as possible based on those guides. Okay, so that's step 1, and we just need to glue this down. So let me grab my glue here, and we're going to get this guy rocking and rolling here. So you definitely want to select a nice pattern for the background. We just chose some nice stars. And this is that authentic paper that we used in the little paper, the little planter project with flowers. Okay, so this is going to go nice and flat on this sheet here. Again, use those guides. Try to get it as centered as possible. And that looks good. And just run your fingers along the edges. I think that's probably the most important thing to do, is just make sure you got that nice and lined up on the edges. Okay, that's good. And I did some inking on this. I did ink the edges of this piece just to kind of give it more of a worn-in sort of look. Okay, so there's the main frame for our sculpture. Okay, and I can start working on the rest of it here. Now the first thing, let's start at the top here. I'm going to find these 2 pieces. Okay, and now your white piece is going to go underneath, in my case, the red piece. And you can see here that this aligns right here, but a little bit of the white shows through just in these little areas and here. So this needs to be glued down like so. And it doesn't matter if we glue these together first or if we glue this down here first and then glue the red on. So actually, let me take a look and see. I can see a series, there's two little score marks here and here, okay? And those are there to help you with the positioning of this piece here. Of course, you want to make sure that that is nice and flush with the top there. And this piece goes down flat. So why don't we just do that real quick? Let's just get this piece down. And I think this is a good, you know, besides all the freebies that you have, I really think that this is a great starter project to kind of get your feet wet with Dreaming Tree because, well, you get to cut everything out. You get to watch the videos and follow along, but there's not a lot of, not too much 3D stuff. It's, you know, just very simple if it is 3D. So again, use those little guides. My paper is really, it makes it hard to see because there's so much going on. I can still see it, but it may not be showing through on the camera there, so don't worry about it. Just try to find yours and get that nice and lined up. Again, this piece goes down flat. We're not adding any dimension just yet. Okay, so that goes just like that. And you'll notice that I kind of strategically inked this. I did add ink to these, but I didn't ink places that aren't going to be showing up. So kind of take a look at the photo if you want, or the video as I'm doing it here, and just kind of pay attention to the sections that I have inked so that you're not spending time inking things that really don't need to be inked. Okay. Like the white piece below this red piece that's about to go down. There's little areas there that are completely hidden. You don't want to waste your time inking things that are just going to be hidden anyway. So, but I mean, it's good practice too. So if you want to, that's fine. That way you're sure you didn't miss anything. But again, try to be as time or efficient with my time as I can, because that's really all we have is time. And now I'm using this star down here as my guide. It seems to be the most logical thing to do to ensure that everything else just falls into place. And in fact, that did help tremendously. Okay, so that's going to sit right on top of that. And that looks nice. Bring that up just a tad. There we go. Okay. Okay, next piece here is going to be this large white piece that is basically the template for everything here. Okay, and we're going to look for our little guides here. And I can see down here there are two little guides that match up with, and let me just get this in place here and take a look at it and make sure that it all looks good, and then I'll point it out to you. That match up with the little curve here, this little area here. This is where it's telling you to put this piece. Okay, so now this piece is going to go down flat as well, and then we're going to build up from there. So this is going to go pretty quick. Now this piece has a lot going on. Okay, so my suggestion would be put a little bit more glue in the larger areas, meaning thicker amounts of glue so it doesn't dry as fast. Okay, like that. You don't have to go too crazy. As long as this base piece has enough to stay down, that's all we're concerned about. And just work your way out here, go out here a little bit. And if we have any little areas that are kind of, you know, poking out or poking up, we can always go back in and add a little bit more. And I'm not really concerned about the middle of this piece because I think the outside is going to hold down the middle. So just kind of get some glue on the middle. Now, if you want, obviously you can use like a spray adhesive for this, but you know, we're not really layering this. It's just this one layer here. And actually don't put any glue on the tail feather down here because we're going to actually train that up, but the rest of it is going to sit flat. So let's grab this large piece here. And again, look for those little score marks down at the bottom there and try to get that lined up nicely with those little score marks. Very tiny. Okay, and then before you really commit, take a look at the eagle's head. Make sure that's all centered, make sure that everything looks good there, and then we can go ahead and commit and press that down. Okay. There you go. Let's make sure that looks nice and centered, and it does. Beautiful. Okay, now this little tail feather down here, I'm going to find a really thin skewer here. Where are you? Oh, jeez. And what we're going to do is just kind of flare this guy out a little bit. Okay, and maybe a little bit of oomph on the tiny little tail feathers as well, just to bring them out, because we're gonna add some dimension to this. Okay, so there you go. There's that. And now we can begin putting together our eagle. Okay, now before we do anything with this here, as far as dimension goes, we are going to flare these feathers out. Okay, this is part of the dimension that we're adding here. The tail feathers are going to stay flat. Okay, but these feathers on the wings here, we are going to flare these out just slightly. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, so there we have that. And probably could have used a thinner dowel. I'm just going to kind of curl these out by hand with my thumb a little bit more. There we go. And we're going to take this piece and we're going to glue it to the next layer that goes on top here. Okay, so that looks nice. And these two layers, it's going to go like this, and these are going to get glued down flat on top of each other. But then we're going to take this entire thing and we're going to pop dot this up. Now I actually need to also curl these feathers up. And instead of training it, I'm actually going to go ahead and curl each one individually. It just makes it look, well, first off, a little more random, and it doesn't give me that fine crease that I kind of don't want to see. Okay. I really think that anyone that has even a government job, or definitely military, or just anyone that loves America that wants a nice little piece of home decor is going to really appreciate this piece. Okay, so what we want to do is, you obviously don't want to put any glue on or beyond the cuts where the feathers begin, but before that, we do want to get some glue on the back of this guy. Now this is the smaller piece, okay? So make sure you're putting your glue on the right piece all the way down to the body. Okay, don't need a lot, and then just a little bit up the wing here. Just keep it off of the feathers. We want those to be free, just like us. Okay, and just line that up and give that a press. Make sure the wing is nice and aligned. There we go. Okay. All right, so again, this piece is going to be zotted. We're gonna flip that over. We're gonna grab our squares. I'm gonna use the black ones today. They cover more surface area. The backing peels off a lot faster. And it's just gonna make quicker work of this. Okay, so just add a few here and there. I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna put one down here at the bottom. I usually use the white ones, but I have some black ones. I gotta find more of these. I love these. They just work so much quicker. Okay, and of course we want to just simply, pardon my head for a second, you'll see the result here in just a moment. I just want to make sure that I get this lined up accurately. There we go. Maybe not. Well, that's what's great about these, is even when you commit initially. You can always go back and fix it. Pardon my head. There we go. That's better. Okay. All right, so there's that. And next layer here is the body. Okay, and he's got some little chest feathers here, and I've already kind of ruffled them up and pulled them out, kind of trained them a little bit. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to find the two pieces to his head. Okay, so there's this piece and then there's this piece, and the little feathers here on his neck, I'm going to curl these out, add a little dimension to that. Okay, same with this piece here. Curl that out. Okay, now this piece is going to get glued on top of this piece, and you can see how nice that looks. So let's grab our glue and just get that glued down. And obviously you don't want to put any glue on the feathers there towards the bottom. And just connect that nicely, just overlay it so that it fits perfectly. Okay. And then we're going to pop this right on here, like so. Okay, so let's flip this over and get our glue on the back, like so. All the way down, just slightly above the little feathers of his neck. And glue that into place. Just match it up with the existing shadow, as I'll call it. And we've got a nice gold beak for him too. We gotta find that. Where are you hanging out, Mr. Beak? There you are. Okay, so let's get some glue on the back of our beak. Beautiful. There we go. All right. Okay, so now, again, as I mentioned, this is going to get popped out as well. So I'm going to flip him over. I'm going to use a black one right here. I think that's fine right there. And then maybe just one more on the bottom here. That ought to do it. Okay, and I'll just line that up nicely. Make sure, pardon my head for a second. I need a eagle eyes view. Sure you got that one. And you know what, the body here, it's not sticking up the way I'd like to, but I've done this before, where I just take a foam square, tiny white one, and I leave the backing on one side so I can just slide it under into wherever I need it and just press it down. And that keeps it nice and raised up. Perfect. Okay, so that just leaves our little star here, which we can assemble pretty quickly. And then we've got a couple more things and then we'll be good to go. So blue star and then a white star, we're gonna glue that nice and centered. And that goes on flat. The white goes on flat on the blue. So let's get that in place. Get it nice and centered. There we go. Had a little excess glue pop off there, but that's okay. Let me put this down and rub that glue off before it starts to cause me problems. And then we've got a red and a gold. I'm going to glue the gold to the center of the red. And too much there. Okay. And just pop that right in the center. There we go. All right, now this, we're going to pop dot that to the blue and white one, and then we're going to pop dot that to this little section here. Let me see if a black one will fit. It should. Yep, you know, that fit nicely. Okay, so we're going to pop dot that right in the center of this one. Create some nice dimension there. and flip that over. And maybe just throw, I don't know, like 2 or 3 on here. I feel like once they're in the shadow box, the black ones maybe don't show through as bad as the white ones, because it's kind of dark in the shadows here between the layers. So, all right, that one was a little tougher to get off for some reason, but that's okay. So if you do make this one for someone that's in the branch of the military, we'd love to see it, especially if you put some vinyl on there. I think that'll look really sharp. Okay, so we're going to align this, pardon my head again for a second, we're going to align that with the existing star shadow there. There we go, that looks nice. Okay, and then finally, we got a couple more pieces here. We've got these pieces here. This piece here is going to go like so. There's one for the left, one for the right. And this goes on flat, so we're not doing anything dimensional with this. So just get your glue on this piece here and take a look at how this one lies. And what I would do, just to make sure that you get it right, take a look at the tails here and just get the 2 top tails aligned so that they're right on top of each other. And then kind of follow the curve up here and then follow the curve down here and just make sure that that all sits nicely, like so. And then we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So we've got, it's kind of like gives it a dimensional look without actually, being overly dimensional, like the eagle, where we've got the little white showing through ever so slightly. And again, on this side, looking at the tails, the top 2 tails are what I want to kind of align on top. And then I'm looking up over here, and then I put this down, and I'm looking down here to make sure this is nice and aligned. And there we go. Okay, that already looks really sharp. Okay, so that just leaves these 2 layers. And move this out of the way for just a second so we can focus on this. Now, what we're going to do is the actual leaves are not glued down. We're just kind of gluing down the center, but it's also a little bit offset and just on one side. So it's got a really interesting dimensional effect that's happening here. And you can see that the effect is happening here and then here only, but not here. Okay, so that's how you want to get everything lined up. And what I would suggest doing probably is, well, maybe just doing like half at a time. Or what we can do actually, how about we do this? Let's just start by anchoring the center here. Let's just get the center. So kind of add some glue around the first 3 sets of dots. And let's anchor that down. And then that will allow us to, we can always peel that back a little bit and make sure I got that nice and aligned. Pardon my head again. And then take a look at the rest of it here and just make sure that that looks like it'll work eventually when we glue it down, and that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to press that down. And then we can, of course, just ever so slightly peel this back and get glue on the rest of it. And these little holes here, I'm going to end up putting some gold pearls in those little areas there. Okay, so I'm going to peel this back now, and I am just going to put glue in between the little holes for the pearls. I'm not putting any glue on the leaves. Okay, so just here, and then maybe just one little thin little streak up to that, and then that little petal at the end there, you don't need to put any glue on that. And just make sure that the top part of this, the top just below the leaves, this top part here, hugs and lines up with the edge of the white as closely as you can get it. And then, of course, you want to have some white showing through down here. Okay, it's kind of almost that dimensional effect there. And that looks nice. Yep, that looks good. That's pretty much exactly how we wanted it. Okay, good. So, I can take this now and lift up the other side. And again, just get your glue in between the dots there. Don't worry about putting any glue on the leaves. And then this last little strip, go as far up as you can without getting any glue on that last little leaf there. Okay, and as you're placing this down, just make sure the top of the gold is kind of flush with the top of the white. And the bottom, you're going to see a little bit of that white showing through. Okay, just like that. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we can flip this over now. And let's get our foam squares on here. Now, one thing that we're going to need to do is, now because our eagle is already one layer up, and we're going to need to double layer this piece. Okay, so, and yeah, so I'm actually going to use my white foam squares for this, and I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to do the first layer here, and just going to stagger them. I don't want to overdo it here with these. Okay, don't really need that many. I'm going to put one right here, and then I'm probably going to do a small one towards the very tip there. So skip that, we'll go there. We'll skip that and we'll go about there. And then we'll do one more in this little nook here. Let's take a look at this. Let's flip it over. Let's kind of do the push test here in between these little areas. And that looks pretty good, I'd say. Now take a look at the connection between these two. If you see any little areas, like right here, I have a little bit of the gold that's not completely sitting on the white. I want to fix that. So remember this piece that we used? I'm just going to drop a little bit of glue on the tip of this. And in this little area here that I've got peeling up, I'm just going to stick it under there and wipe some of that glue onto the gold, and then press that down so that it is making better contact and it kind of sits nice and flush. Okay, now we can kind of do the push test. And obviously we can't put any glue on this. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, and it's not too late to do it now, you want to go ahead and fold these at the score marks here. Okay, we want to add dimension to these pieces here. So you can go ahead and go around and just pinch them. Okay, you can do it once it's on the actual project. You don't have to do it right this minute. So anyway, did want to mention that. And I'm probably going to go through and do this again because I did this early this morning just to kind of prep. And I think it kind of lost a little bit of the shape that it initially had. Okay, so anyway, that looks good. And now, let's see. I'm going to peel these off and add another layer, because remember, this needs to be 2 layers. And I don't know where my X-Acto knife went, but it's okay. So I'm peeling off the backing of the first layer, and then I'm going to take another layer of foam squares. I'm going to put it on top of that existing one there. And I just realized why they were flattened out, because of what I'm doing right now. I'm pushing down on them. So yeah, you probably are better off pinching all of those little leaves after you actually get this in place. Okay, so I've got those off. And I'm going to add one more layer there, well, on all of them, just stacking them. It works. I've done it many times with many paper sculptures. I was saying before the camera cut off that many times I've stacked foam squares to kind of help, you know, create more separation in projects. And as many of you have probably done the same, for those of you that have worked with our paper sculptures before. Okay, so I'm just peeling off the backing on the second layer now. Actually, this almost works better than the X-Acto. I'm just kind of shoving it in there and creating some separation. And I have a feeling that I may not need to put any more foam squares on this up towards this top, because this top part here, let's see how it sits. Well, maybe we do need something small, maybe towards the top here. One thing that you may or may not know is you can actually, these foam squares here, let me use these. You can cut these. So let me rip this off real quick just to make it easier to show you. And I've already actually done this, but you can literally take some scissors and just cut them in half. And it works nicely. Okay, so that gives you a custom size little foam square there that you can just pop right in that little small area there. And then peel the back off of that. Come on back. And throw another one on top of it. Like that. It's kind of weird, but it works. And I've got paper sculptures that are over a year old now, and they're using foam squares just like this, and I've had no problem with them falling apart. Now that is one of the reasons why we've gotten some emails for people asking for paper shadow boxes. And there's one thing that a paper shadow box just simply cannot compete with when it comes to a traditional, actual shadow box with some glass on it, is that it's more prone to, well, the environment, humidity, light, things that can dry glue out, and it just doesn't last as long. So for a project like this, I would really recommend getting your hands on a real shadow box. Okay, so let's get this nice and lined up. Take a look at the existing shadow for this piece here and just line it up nicely. And if you're happy with it, go ahead and just commit. And there we go. Okay. And wait a minute, we're done. We're done with the exception of the little pearls that I need to add. I just realized that we finished, yep. So I would go through and just pinch these again, get a little more dimension in there. Okay, and I'm gonna grab a shadow box here so I can take a look at what this is gonna look like. But again, take a look at the final photo on the website and you'll see we've got these little holes here specifically so that you can grab some, gold pearls and know exactly where to place them to make it look good. So everything is nice and symmetrical and spaced nicely. So let's take a look at that. That looks great. Okay, and I think it's holding up very well, actually. Now, if you, for some reason, if you notice that maybe what you could do if you wanted to, and it's not too late to do it now, maybe just maybe add like a layer of foam squares underneath like this leaf here and maybe this leaf here. Okay, and I can do that real quick. Let me just grab two of them, and let's see, which one did I say? I said that one. Let me just throw this under here. Obviously you want to peel yours back, and that is actually holding it up nicely. So it's never too late to go back in and add a little bit more support to little areas that might be, not sitting up as well, but that is nice. Okay, so let's take a look at it in a shadow box here. I think I have one handy. So that just slides right in. It's a 12 by 12 shadow box. Okay, pop the back on there, close it up. The glass is not in there, so it's not as tight as it usually would be, but that's okay. And ready for the big reveal here. Shadow box really just makes it look really nice. And there we go. So there you have it, our Patriotic paper sculpture. Very simple, very quick, and again, as I mentioned, if you got a nice shadow box, you can take your vinyl, find a nice classic font, and put the service member's name on there, and it'd be a great gift, I should say. If not, obviously, this is going to find its home in my kitchen. Oh, now one other thing that I forgot to mention is that we've included. Now, what I'm going to do is I've got these dimensional stars. They're kind of like, well, it's just bling. I'm going to put these in various places on the back. If you don't have stars like this, and we'll try to find the source. If you don't have stars like that, we've included a version that you can cut out and just use that instead. And again, don't forget to add your beautiful little pearls throughout the little holes here, just to kind of really finish it up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the project. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That lets me know that you enjoy hanging out with me and crafting with me. And if you make this or anything from the new Patriotic bundle, we'd love to see it. So join us in the official group on Facebook by heading over to Facebook and in the search box, typing in Dreaming Tree Group. We've got about, I think 13,000 members that inspire us daily, and I hope you join us. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.